welcome students. Good evening again. Welcome to kabtv.net. Today we discuss about the stem, the aerial part of the plant body with positive phototropism and negative geotropism is stem. Stem develops normally from plumule part of embryo. So radicle gives rise to root, plumule gives rise to stem. Stem is a complex structure because it has nodes, it has internodes, it has axillary buds, apical buds and other structures. So definitely it is a complicated structure. Stem shows different types of modifications. All the stem modifications are broadly divided into three types. 1. Aerial stem modifications. 2. Subaerial stem modifications. 3. Underground stem modification. These are the three different types of stem modifications. So, any permanent change in the stem to store food material, to perform a specific function, to provide a mechanical support, whatever it may be, is very popularly called modification. And total stem modifications are broadly divided into three categories: aerial stem modification, subaerial stem modification, underground stem modification. Now, first coming to aerial stem modification. All those modifications which are present above the soil level formed from aerial parts of the plant body are called as aerial stem modification. Aerial stem modifications are broadly classified into different types. One is tendrils, the other is thorns, the third is hooks, the fourth is phylloclad, the fifth is cladode, the sixth is tuberous stem, and the last is bulbil. These are 7 different types of aerial stem modification. First, tendrils. Highly coiled, watch spring like, sensitive structures which helps in climbing are called as tendrils. Tendrils will come from root, tendrils will come from stem, tendrils will come from leaf. Then how can you say that a tendril is a stem modification? Means whenever an apical bud or axillary bud modifies into a tendril, then only it is regarded as a stem modification. Apical bud becomes a tendril in cissus and vitis. Axillary bud becomes a tendril in passiflora. So apical bud becomes a tendril in cissus and vitis. Axillary bud becomes a tendril in passiflora. In cissus, tendrils are present opposite to the leaves. So a plant with leaf opposite tendrils is cissus. Vitis is grapes. Grapes tendrils are present. Axillary bud is modified tendrils in passiflora. Coming to the thorns. Hard pointed structures that provide protection in the stem modifications are called thorns. The speciality of thorns is thorns possess vasculature. That means vascular bundles are found even in thorns. Thorn is also said to be a stem modification whenever it comes from apical bud or axillary bud. Apical bud becomes a pair of thorns in carissa. Apical bud becomes a pair of thorns in carissa. Axillary bud becomes thorns in durantha and bougainvillea. Axillary bud becomes thorns in durantha and bougainvillea. The speciality of durantha is thorn bear leaves and flowers. Durantha special bit is thorn bears leaves and flowers. The special bit of bougainvillea is axillary buds are modified into thorns, but thorns are slightly curved hook-like thorns. Thorns are slightly curved hook-like thorns. There is another plant by name Punica granatum. We all know pomegranate. This Punica granatum, the speciality is thorn bears leaves and branches. So thorn bear leaves and flowers in durantha, thorn bears leaves and branches in Punica granatum. In bougainvillea, slightly curved hook-like thorns are present. Then hooks. Hard curved structures that help in climbing are called hooks. Hook is also said to be stem modification when it comes from apical bud or axillary bud. Apical bud becomes an inflorescence. Peduncle becomes a hook. Important bit. Apical bud becomes an inflorescence. Peduncle becomes a hook in Artobotrys. Peduncle becomes a hook in Artobotrys. Axillary bud becomes a hook in Hugonia. Hugonia is a plant where axillary buds are modified into hooks. Then phylloclades. Phylloclades are found in xerophytes. In xerophytes, leaves are modified into scales and spines to reduce the rate of transpiration. So, stem becomes broad, expanded, green chlorophyllous structure, and this broad, expanded green chlorophyllous structure perform photosynthesis. Such stem modifications are called as phylloclades. Phylloclades are found in Opuntia. Phylloclades are found in Casuarina. Phylloclades are found in Cocoloba. In Opuntia, broad, expanded, fleshy, succulent phylloclades are present, where all the leaves of axillary buds are modified into spines. Some leaves become spines, some leaves become barbs. Spines are pointed structures providing protection. Barbs are smooth hair-like structures. Both these combinedly called areoles. So, areoles are found in Opuntia. What is an areole? All the leaves of axillary bud some becomes pointed spines, some becomes smooth barbs. Both are combinedly called areoles. A needle-like phylloclade is found in Casuarina. A ribbon-like phylloclade is found in Cocoloba. That is about phylloclade. Then cladode. Suppose the total stem becomes a green chlorophyllous photosynthetic structure, then it is called phylloclade. Suppose a branch of limited growth becomes a green chlorophyllous photosynthetic structure, then it is called cladode. Cladodes are found in asparagus and ruscus. Cladodes are found in asparagus and ruscus. In asparagus, cladodes develop from the axils of the spines, and they are branches of limited growth performing photosynthesis. In ruscus, cladodes develop from the axils of scale leaves. Not only they develop from the axils of scale leaves, but also they bear a scale leaf at center, and from the axils of those scale leaves, flowers will develop. So, one scale leaf is regarded as stipule, other scale leaf is regarded as bract. So, scale leaves are regarded as stipules and bracts in ruscus. Then tuberous stem. The aerial stems store food material and appears tuberous. Tuberous stems are found in null-cole, Brassica, Oleracea, variety Gangyloides. Then another important example of tuberous stem is bulbophyllum. Bulbophyllum is an epiphyte. Bulbophyllum is an epiphyte. This epiphyte internode stores food material and appears bulb-like structure. It is not a bulb, it appears like a bulb-like structure. It appears like a bulb-like structure, and this bulb-like structure, it is not a real bulb, it is a bulb-like structure, so it is called pseudobulb. It is a bulb-like structure, that is why it is called pseudobulb. So, null-cole and bulbophyllum shows tuberous stem. Now, coming to the last structure, bulbils. Either vegetative bud or floral bud. Either vegetative bud or floral bud. Suppose becomes short condensed branches which not only store food material but also help in vegetative propagation, then it is called a bulbil. Vegetative bud in the axils of the leaves. Vegetative bud in the axils of the leaves becomes a bulbil in Dioscorea. Vegetative bud in the axils of the leaves becomes bulbil in Dioscorea. Floral bud in the axils of the bracts. Floral bud in the axils of the bracts becomes a bulbil in agave and globa. Agave americana and globa bulbifera. The special feature is the vegetative propagation with bulbils is totally depend on sexual reproduction in agave and globa. I hope you got it. Why? Because only after the formation of inflorescence, bract and other things, bulbils are formed. So, sexual reproduction and vegetative propagations are linked in agave americana and globa bulbifera. There is another plant by name oxalis. In oxalis, stem is a runner, a tuberous root will be there, and bulbil is present above the tuberous root and help in vegetative propagation. So, either vegetative bud or floral bud, suppose becomes a short condensed branch and perform not only storage of food material but also help in vegetative propagation, then it is called a bulbil. Vegetative bud in the axils of the leaves becomes a bulbil in Dioscorea. Floral bud in the axils of the bracts becomes bulbils in agave and globa. In agave and globa, vegetative reproduction is almost linked with sexual reproduction. In a plant by name oxalis, the tuberous root is present, special runners are present, and above the tuberous roots, aerially bulbils are formed and provide vegetative propagation. Then this is about aerial stem modifications. What are they? Tendril, thorn, hook, phylloclad, cladophyll or cladode, tuberous stem and bulbil. Next, subaerial stems. Subaerial stems are the stem modifications which are partly aerial and partly underground. These are partly aerial and partly underground. The main function of subaerial stems is vegetative propagation. The main function of subaerial stems is vegetative propagation. The subaerial stems are broadly classified into 4 types: runners, stolons, suckers and offsets. Runners, suckers, stolons, offsets. First, runner. Runners are normally found in grasses. In many grasses, stem is very weak. So, stem grows horizontally on the soil. Every stem shows a prominent node and a long internode. Whenever the node touches the soil, it develops adventitious roots and new plants. This special structure is called runner, and whenever runner cuts off from the internode cuts off from the node, along with node, it helps in vegetative propagation. Example, hydrocotyle, Lippia and oxalis. Just now we studied about oxalis. So, oxalis is a plant with tuberous roots, runners and aerial bulbils. Tuberous roots, runners and aerial bulbils. So, oxalis is an important bit like that. Then stolons. Stolons means in some plants from the base of the stem weak delicate branches develop. They grow upwards obliquely and bend towards the soil. Once they touch the soil, they develop new plants. These special structures are called stolons. Stolons, when cuts off from the main plant, produce new plants. The vegetative propagation with the help of stolons is popularly called layering. So, stolons help in vegetative propagation, and that concept where stolons are used in vegetative propagation is called layering. Example, nerium, jasmine and rose. Nerium, jasmine and rose. So, now I hope you got the difference between runner and stolon. Runner is a structure which grows horizontally on the soil. It shows long delicate nodes, prominent internodes. Whenever an internode along with node cuts off from the main plant, it can lead its independent life. Stolon, a small delicate branch developed from the base of the stem, obliquely grow upwards. Because it is weak, it bends towards the soil. Once it comes and touches the soil, it develops adventitious roots and new plants. Once it cuts off from the main plant, it can lead its independent life. Then sucker. In some plants, a small portion of the stem remain under the soil. A small portion of the stem remain under the soil. The small portion of the stem remain under the soil contain an axillary bud. This axillary bud produces a lateral weak delicate branch which grow obliquely under the soil. Producing adventitious roots here and there. Once it comes out, it develops into new plant. So, an underground weak delicate lateral branch growing obliquely under the soil, producing adventitious roots here and there, helping in vegetative propagation is called sucker. Suckers are found in chrysanthemum, mentha and musa. Chrysanthemum, mentha and musa. So, what is the difference between stolon and sucker? Stolon grows obliquely upwards above the soil level, help in vegetative propagation. Sucker grows obliquely under the soil level or under the soil, grow obliquely upwards, produce adventitious roots here and there and help in vegetative propagation. Next, coming to offsets. Offsets are normally found in aquatic plants like Pistia, Eichhornia. Pistia and Eichhornia. The speciality of offset is it shows a highly condensed disc-like stem. From the base of the stem, you will find a bunch of balancing roots where the root caps are replaced by root pockets. Root caps are replaced by root pockets. Above the disc-like stem, a rosette of leaves are present. Rosette of leaves means bunch of leaves. From the axils of the rosette of leaves, axillary bud develop which produces a weak, delicate lateral branch of one internodal length. And again it produces a condensed disc-like stem. Again it produces a bunch of balancing roots. Again it produces a rosette of leaves. This is called offset. So, offsets are found in aquatic plants like Pistia and Eichhornia. Stem is very much reduced disc-like. From the lower side, many bunch of adventitious roots develop or bunch of balancing roots develop where root cap is replaced by root pocket. From the axils of the bunch of rosette of leaves, axillary buds are produced. Axillary buds grow obliquely and produces special branches called offsets. These offsets, once they cut off from the main plant, they can lead their independent life. So, Pistia Eichhornia, that is one important bit. There is only terrestrial plant with offsets is Agave americana. So, Agave americana is the only terrestrial plant with offsets. That means agave shows two concepts. One is bulbils, the other is offsets. So, subaerial stems are partly aerial, partly underground. They mainly help in vegetative propagation, and all the subaerial stems help in vegetative propagation are four types: runners, stolons, suckers, offsets. Runners grow obliquely on the soil, above the soil, help in vegetative propagation with prominent nodes and internodes. Stolons grow above the soil obliquely, help in vegetative propagation. The vegetative propagation by stolons is called layering. Suckers grow under the soil obliquely, producing adventitious roots here and there. They also help in vegetative propagation, chrysanthemum, mentha. Offsets are found only in aquatic plants, that is Pistia and Eichhornia, and there is only one terrestrial plant which produces offsets is Agave americana. Now, coming to the last one, underground stem modification. Underground stem modifications prove that all the stems are not aerial. That means all stems are not present aerially. There are some stems which are present even underground. That is called all the stems are not aerial. This underground stem speciality is they perform different functions. One, they help in the storage of reserve food. They help in the storage of reserve food. Two, they help in vegetative propagation. They help in vegetative propagation. 3, they help in perennation. Perennation means living under the soil for many years and producing new plants only in particular seasons is called as perennation. Living under the soil for many years and producing new plants only in particular season. The best concept for this is in a barren land where you don't even sow a single seed, whenever rain comes, so many grass plants will grow. How the grass plants are growing means because of perennation. So, in a barren land without sowing a single seed, so many grasses will grow, and that means in favorable conditions, that is called perennation. And the fourth is these provide protection to the main stem from grazing animals. Protection to the main stem from grazing animals. As single modification doing storage of reserve food, vegetative propagation, perennation, and providing protection to the main stem from grazing animals. As one modification is performing these many functions, these underground stem modifications are also popularly called multi-purpose stem modification. You cannot call aerial stem modifications as multi-purpose stem modifications. Why? Because in aerial stem modifications, tendril helps only in climbing, thorn helps only in protection, hook helps only in climbing, phylloclad perform photosynthesis, cladophyll perform photosynthesis, tuberous stem stores only food, and bulbils help in storage of food and vegetative propagation. So, these many functions performed by one modification, that is why underground stems are popularly called as multi-purpose stem modifications. So, what are underground stems? These prove that all these stems are not aerial. These are very popularly perform different functions. That means one modification perform different functions. One is storage of reserve food, second is vegetative propagation, third is perennation. What is perennation? Living under the soil for many years and producing new plants only in particular seasons and providing protection to the main stem from grazing animals. Because one modification performs these many functions, underground stem modifications are very popularly called multi-purpose stem modifications. These are 4 types: rhizome, culm, tuber, bulb. There are 4 types of underground stem modifications: rhizome, culm, tuber, bulb. Rhizome grows horizontally in the soil. Rhizome grows horizontally in the soil. Rhizome is dorsiventrally differentiated. That means it shows dorsal side and ventral side. Rhizome, culm, tuber, bulb are differentiated from the root because root modifications are also present under the soil. They are differentiated from the roots by possessing apical bud, axillary bud, scale leaves, and nodes and internodes. So, nodes, internodes, apical bud, axillary bud, scale leaves differentiate the underground stem away from the roots. So, rhizome grows horizontally in the soil. It is dorsiventrally differentiated. It shows nodes, internodes, scale leaves, apical and axillary buds. The apical bud produce aerial stem on the upper side, that means dorsal side. The axillary buds produce lateral branches. The lateral branches also grow horizontally and they also store food material and makes the rhizome very much branched. So, rhizome is very much branched. Examples of rhizome are ginger, Gingiber officinalis, turmeric, Curcuma longa, Musa paradisiaca, that is banana, and Canna indica. These are the underground stems with or plants with underground stem rhizome: ginger, Gingiber officinalis, Curcuma longa, turmeric, Musa paradisiaca, banana, Canna indica. All these show rhizome. What is a rhizome? Rhizome is an underground stem modification which grows horizontally on the soil. Rhizome is dorsiventrally differentiated, and in rhizome you can show dorsal side and ventral side. It shows nodes, it shows internodes, it shows scale leaves, it shows apical buds and axillary buds. And most importantly, apical bud produces aerial stem on the dorsal side. Adventitious roots are formed on the ventral side. Adventitious roots are formed on the ventral side. Axillary buds present in the axils of the scale leaves produces lateral branches. Lateral branches also grow horizontally. They also store food material and makes the rhizome very much branched. So, rhizomes are found in ginger, curcuma, musa, canna. When it comes to the Liliaceae family, gloriosa. Gloriosa also shows rhizomes. So, gloriosa, Gingiber officinalis, curcuma longa, musa paradisiaca, banana, canna indica, all these will show rhizomes. Then culm. Culm grows vertically in the soil. Culm always grows vertically in the soil. It also shows nodes, internodes, scale leaves, axillary buds, apical buds, but it is not dorsiventrally differentiated. That means it is not differentiated dorsiventrally. So, that is the basic difference between rhizome and culm. Rhizome is differentiated dorsiventrally, but culm is not differentiated dorsiventrally. And this culm, the apical bud is very large and produces aerial shoot. Apical bud is very, very large and produces aerial shoot. The axillary bud, instead of producing lateral branches, produces daughter culms. So, it produces daughter culms in the place of lateral branches. So, culms are unbranched. Rhizomes are branched. Coming to the examples of culms, and another important feature is culms are placed at a particular depth in the soil with the help of specially modified adventitious roots called as contractile roots or pull roots. So, culms are placed at a particular depth in the soil with the help of specially modified roots called as contractile roots or pull roots. Contractile roots or pull roots are found only in culms, and culms particularly placed at a particular depth in the soil. The examples of culms are Colocasia, Amorphophallus, and culms are also found in Colchicum. So, Colocasia shows a culm, Amorphophallus shows a culm, and Colchicum also shows a culm. In Amorphophallus particularly, clear development of contractile or pull roots will be there, which places the culm under a particular depth in the soil. Then coming to tuber. Tuber is an underground stem modification without adventitious roots. This is an important bit. The only underground stem modification without adventitious roots is tuber. These tubers are found in potato, Solanum tuberosum. Tubers are found in potato, Solanum tuberosum. Then Jerusalem artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke is Helianthus tuberosus. Then Chinese artichoke. Chinese artichoke is Stachys tubifera. These are the three plants which contain tubers. So, an underground stem modification without adventitious roots is tuber. Tubers are found in potato, Solanum tuberosum, Jerusalem artichoke, Helianthus tuberosus, Chinese artichoke, Stachys tubifera. So, what is a tuber? Particularly in potato, suppose this is the stem. From the base of the stem, special delicate lateral branches are produced. They penetrate into the soil. These are regarded as stolons. So, special delicate lateral branches are formed from the base of the stem. They penetrate into the soil. At the tip of these delicate branches, reserve food material gets stored. Reserve food material gets stored, resulting in the formation of tubers. And if you observe each tuber, every tuber is externally surrounded by a dead corky layer. A dead corky layer called peridium. A dead corky layer, a brown colored layer present around potato is peridium. Now, in the tuber, many half moon shaped nodes are present. Many half moon shaped or semilunar nodes are present. In every half moon shaped you will find the traces of scale leaves. That means previously scale leaves are there, and the places where scale leaves are fallen, their marks will be there. And in the axils of the scale leaves, you will find axillary buds. In the axils of the scale leaves, you will find axillary buds. So, a half moon shaped node along with the remnant of scale leaves or fallen scale leaves and axillary bud appear like eye. That is why these structures are called eyes. In potato, eyes help in vegetative propagation. The vegetative propagation with the help of eyes in potato is popularly called sprouting. The vegetative propagation with the help of eyes in potato is called as sprouting. So, this is about tuber. So, tuber is an underground stem modification where the actual stem does not store food material. Stem stores food material, but it does not show adventitious root. Potato, Solanum tuberosum, Jerusalem artichoke, Helianthus tuberosus. The speciality of Helianthus tuberosus is there the underground stem modification stores inulin. Then stachys sugar is present in Stachys tubifera, that is Chinese artichoke. In potato, special weak delicate lateral branches develop from the base of the stem. They are regarded as stolons. They penetrate into the soil. At the tip of these branches, food is stored. The stored food makes the formation of tubers. Every tuber shows a dead corky layer around it called peridium. On the tuber, special half moon shaped nodes are present, remnant of scale leaves are present, and axillary bud is present. The half moon shaped node, remnant of scale leaf, axillary bud combinedly form eyes. The eyes help in vegetative propagation, And vegetative propagation with the help of eyes is popularly called sprouting. Now, next is the last underground stem modification, that is bulb. The last underground stem modification is bulb. Bulb is a stem modification where the actual stem does not store food material. The stem does not store food material. What is the special feature of tuber? The only underground stem modification without adventitious roots. What is the special feature of calm? The underground stem modification which grow vertically in the soil and placed at a particular depth in the soil with the help of contractile roots or pull roots. What is the special feature of rhizome? Rhizome is an underground stem modification which grows horizontally. It is dorsiventrally differentiated and very much branched. Bulb is an underground stem modification where the actual stem does not store food material. Here the stem is very much condensed, biconvex and disc-like. Very much condensed, biconvex and disc-like. From the lower side of the stem, a bunch of adventitious roots are produced. From the lower side of the stem, a bunch of adventitious roots are produced. From the upper side, many scale leaves are formed like this. Many scale leaves are arranged in the form of a bunch or group. The apical bud produces, these are all scale leaves. The apical bud produces a weak, delicate stem-like structure called scape. The apical bud produces a weak, delicate stem-like structure called scape. At the tip of this scape, you will find a simple umbel inflorescence. The axillary buds produces daughter corms. The axillary buds produces daughter corms. Axillary buds always produce daughter corms that help in vegetative propagation. So, bulb is an underground stem modification where the actual stem does not store food material. Stem is very much condensed, biconvex, disc-like. From the lower side, a bunch of adventitious roots. From the upper side, a bunch of fleshy scale leaves are present. The apical bud gives rise to a very weak, delicate stem-like structure called scape, which bears inflorescence at its tip. And axillary buds gives rise to daughter bulbs that help in vegetative propagation. So, here the stem is not storing food material. The food material are stored in either scale leaves or leaf bases. The bulbs are divided into two types: tunicated bulb, naked bulb or scaly bulb or imbricate bulb. Tunicated bulb, naked bulb or scaly bulb or imbricate bulb. First, tunicated bulb. Here fleshy scale leaves which store food and water are as concentric rings. They appear like special rings. They appear like ring-like structures, and the total bulb is surrounded by dry scale leaves called tunics. So, bulb is completely externally surrounded by dry scale leaves called tunics. Example, onion, allium, cepa. Then naked bulb. Naked bulbs are found in lilium. Here leaf bases store food material, and these leaf bases stored food material appear as a bunch and they are not surrounded by any tunic. Then scaly bulb. Particularly scaly bulb is found in garlic, allium sativum. In garlic, leaf base store food material that appears like a bulb. That leaf base is surrounded by scale leaf, but the total bulb is not surrounded by scale leaf. So, only particular individual leaf base is storing food material is surrounded by scale leaf. The total bulb is not surrounded by scale leaf. Such bulbs are called as scaly bulbs, and scaly bulbs are found in garlic. So, these are underground stem modifications, and that is all about aerial stem modifications with tendrils. Apical bud becomes a tendril and leaf opposed in cissus, vitis. Axillary bud becomes tendril in passiflora. Thorns bear leaves and flowers in Durantha. Thorn blades leaves and branches in Punica, and thorn is curved and hook-like in Bougainvillea. Then hooks. Apical bud becomes an inflorescence. Peduncle becomes a hook in the case of Autobotrys. Axillary buds present and form hooks in Hugonia. Phylloclades. Cladophylls or cladodes. Then tuberous stem. Tuberous stem, one important bit is bulbophyllum, an epiphytic plant which stores food in the internodes and become pseudo bulbs. Then comes tuberous, finally bulbils. Then comes subaerial stems which help in vegetative propagation, runners, stolons, suckers and offsets. Then underground stems, rhizome growing horizontally, dorsiventrally differentiated, culm growing vertically, dorsiventrally not differentiated, tuber without adventitious roots, and bulb where the actual stem does not store food material. The food is stored in either scale leaves or in leaf bases. Okay, that's about underground subaerial stems. Now coming to the important questions. First question is, arrange the following correct ascending order with regards to their number. Number of hooks in the 5 nodes of Eugonia means 10. Number of scale leaves at each assimilatory organ of Ruscus is 1. Number of thorns in 6 branched twig of Carissa is 12. Number of spines in Phylloclada of Opuntia is many. So answer will be 2, 1, 3, 4. Next, matching. Ruscus always show the first option, second one, axillary bud modified into or axillary bud modified organs with flowers. Then agave shows fourth option, offsets with balancing roots. Then null col shows fifth option, possess roots without eyes, and rosa. Next, assertion, all phylloclads bear reduced leaves, that is scale leaves or spines. Stem becomes chlorophyllous and photosynthetic in all xerophytes. A is true but R is false. In all xerophytes, stem may not be becoming. In some xerophytes, leaves also become green, chlorophyllous and photosynthetic. Next, 2 plants A and B observed, both are with prostrate weak stem. In A, internodes are many and long and rooted at nodes. B, internodes are many but only one internode is elongated with rosette of leaves. A and B respectively, oxalis and agave. Next, the plant where the modification of terminal buds help both in reproduction and climbing. Just now I told, apical bud becomes an inflorescence that helps in reproduction, and climbing, the peduncle becomes a hook that helps in climbing. So answer is 1, artobotrys. Next, assertion, in Durantha, thorns are modifications of aerial stem. In thorns of Durantha bear both assimilatory and reproductive structures. Just now we discussed the thorn bears leaves and flowers. Leaves are assimilatory structures, flowers are reproductive structures. So first option, because stem we can say that as they possess vascular bundles. Then the plants can propagated by vegetative method during their reproduction. Just now I told, during their reproduction phase also are third option, Dioscorea, agave and globa. Next, among the following, find the true statement. Find the true statement. Hooks in Hugonia, all are axillary bud modifications. Tendrils in Passiflora, thorns in Bougainvillea, all are axillary bud modifications. Next, this is also an list. First option, 3, 5, 2, 1, because leaf opposite tendril is scissors. Leaf opposite hook with peduncle is artobotrys. Then thorns with stem nature is second one. And thorns useful for climbing is first one, that is D is 1, Bougainvillea. Next, branches developed from axillary bud and thorns formed from apical bud show appendages V means. Why? Because Carissa is the answer. Carissa is the answer. No problem. Carissa is the answer because in Carissa you will find every apical bud becomes a pair of thorns and branches are formed. Next, which is not a modification of stem. Tendril in Pisum is a leaf modification, it is not a stem modification. Next, epiphytic plant with pseudobulbs is bulbophyllum. For this, third is the answer, 4, 5, 3, 2. Bulbils develop on the axils of the leaves is Dioscorea. Bulbils develop on the inflorescence of the axils of the bracts is globa. Bulbils develop above the tuberous roots is oxalis. Next, in Lilium, stem stores food material. That is wrong. So A is false, R is true. Then A is false, R is true. Lilium contains underground stem modifications like bulb. Next, assertion reasoning. The modified leaves present on phylloclads reduce the rate of transpiration is correct. That is scales. Phylloclads perform photosynthesis. Both are not related. So A and R are correct. R is not the correct explanation of A. Next, floral buds are modified into bulbils. Just now I told, floral bud is in the axils of the bracts Definitely agave and globa, first option. Next, disc-like reduced stems are found in Pistia, Allium, Eichhornia. In Pistia and Eichhornia, offset where disc-like stem is there, and in the case of Allium, bulb disc-like stem will be there. Each eye of potato possesses leaf scar and axillary bud along with half moon shaped node. So, half moon shaped node, leaf scar and axillary bud combinedly form an eye in potato. Aerial stem modification which stores food and water for survival during unfavorable conditions. This is nothing but bulbophyllum, pseudobulb, where aerial stem internode store food material, not only food and water, to overcome unfavorable conditions because it is a epiphytic plant. Next, the bulb of Lilium differs from that of Allium. Just now we discussed. In Allium, the bulb is surrounded by tunics. In Lilium, the bulb is not surrounded by tunics. That is why in Allium it is called tunicated bulb. In Lilium it is called naked bulb or imbricated bulb. Next, eyes are the vegetative propagating structures in stem tuber. In rhizome you do not find eyes, in culm you do not find eyes, and bulb you do not find eyes. You find them only on stem tuber, and this is potato which helps in vegetative propagation. So, these are some of the important questions regarding stem. So, stem shows 3 types of modifications. One is aerial stem modification, the other is subaerial stem modification, the third is underground stem modifications. Aerial stem modifications are tendrils, thorns, hooks, phylloclads, cladodes, tuberous stem and bulbils. Then subaerial stem modifications, these are runners, suckers, stolons, offsets. What is the basic difference between stolon and offset? Stolon grows obliquely above the soil helping in vegetative propagation. Suckers grow obliquely under the soil helping in vegetative propagation. Then comes aerial stem, subaerial, then finally underground stem modification. Rhizome, culm, tuber, bulb. Rhizome grows horizontally, dorsiventrally differentiated, branched in nature. Best examples are Gingiber officinalis, Curcuma longa and other plants. Culm grows vertically in the soil. The special is unbranched because axillary buds instead of producing lateral branches produces daughter culms, and culms are placed at a particular depth in the soil with the help of specially modified roots called contractile roots or pull roots. Then comes tuber. Tuber is a stem modification where the stem absolutely does not contain adventitious roots. So, this stem tuber is found in potato, Solanum tuberosum, Jerusalem artichoke, Helianthus tuberosus, Chinese artichoke, Stachys tubifera. In potato, the tuber stores starch. In Helianthus tuberosus, the tuber stores inulin. In Stachys tubifera, the tuber stores stachio sugar. Then comes in how a potato tuber is formed. Special branches are developed from the base of the stem. They penetrate into the soil. They are nothing but stolons. At the tip of the stolons, food is stored, and this stored food becomes tuberous stem. Every tuber is surrounded by a dead corky layer called peridome. It shows special half moon shaped structures called nodes. In the nodes, leaf scars are present and axillary bud is present. They help in vegetative propagation, and those structures are called as eyes. Then bulb. Bulb is an underground stem modification where the actual stem does not store food material. Here the stem is very much condensed and disc-like. Bunch of adventitious roots develop from the base of the stem. A group of fleshy scale leaves are present which not only store food but also water and becomes very fleshy. If they are surrounded by dry leaves called tunics, it is a tunicated bulb, and if it not surrounded by dry leaves tunics, it is a naked bulb. Tunicated bulb is found in onion, Allium cepa. Naked bulb is found in Lilium. In Allium, special leaf bases store food material. At every leaf base which has stored food material is surrounded by a tunic. The total bulb is not surrounded by a tunic. These specially called as bulb with close. So, Allium sativum, that is garlic, is called as bulb with close. Bulb with close. Okay. So, this is about stem. One introduction to the stem. Then we discussed about aerial stem modifications with very important. So we all know thorns bearing leaves and flowers is Durantha. Thorns bearing leaves and branches is Punica granata. Then thorns appearing like slightly curved hook-like structures is, so like this, so many aspects we discussed in stem. Tomorrow we discuss the chapter leaves.